Here we go. So we are happy to host our members today. Who MEEA is. We're a regional energy efficiency organization that focuses on 13 Midwest states to optimize energy generation, reduce consumption, create jobs, and decrease carbon emissions in all Midwest communities. We have over 160 members made up of the organizations that you see below. I'm Jen Rhodes, Director of Membership and External Relations at MEEA, and I'll be your host today. Just so that you all know, since this is a Zoom webinar specifically, you are all muted. If you do have questions or any type of issues with participating, please enter them into the question box and we'll address those. And this webinar will be recorded and sent out to all attendees later this week, as well as contact information for our speakers, Kelly and Nate, today. So what are these MEEA member highlights? It's a new member benefit that we're just starting out today. The information about Mulder Consulting and Staples Energy was in the MEEA Minute last week, so you can pop that open and read more about them, but they'll go into more information about their companies and the work that they're doing. Our goal for this is for members to learn directly from members. So while Kelly and Nate from Mulder Consulting and Staples Energy will be talking about the work that they're doing, they'll be digging into more specifically kind of some cool pieces of the work that they're doing and best practices that they're going to be sharing. If you would like to be highlighted in future months, please email membership@mwalliance.org right there. And I know we do have some non-members attending as well too. So if you're not a member and do want to join our membership, also shoot an email to that email address listed above, and we will get into it, and we will would love to have you. So today we will be hearing from Kelly Mulder of Mulder Consulting, as I mentioned, and Nathan Bayer, Managing Partner and COO of Staples Energy. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and Kelly is going to start sharing hers as she gets into this. So owner Kelly Mulder designs marketing strategies for clients with her wide-ranging expertise developed from 15 years of energy and utility industry experience and 20 years of marketing experience. Thank you so much, Kelly, and take it away.
All right. Jen, can you confirm that I'm sharing the right screen with my front slide?
Yep, you are.
All right. I am really excited to be here. I think I was in one of the conversations that talked about having these membership spotlights. So really encourage everybody to take advantage of them and all of the awesome things that MEEA has to offer. So as Jen mentioned, I'm Kelly Mulder, and I'm going to talk a little bit about mentorship in the EE industry, as well as a few things about my company. I'm going to make sure I can. There we go. So Mulder Consulting has been around for about 1.5 years next month, and we've done a lot in that short time. We've worked with small and large businesses, as well as a variety of amazing creative professionals to develop and implement some pretty cool marketing initiatives for our utility clients and their energy programs. So prior to starting the company, I spent about 15 years designing marketing strategies for utility clients across the country. Had various different roles, including marketing research, program implementation, and evaluation. And I really thrive on creating relationships and solving problems. So I've really tried to bring that to my company and to all the partnerships that we do. Just real quick, some project spotlights. My primary work is really in the strategic development and implementation of marketing activities for energy efficiency program portfolios. And in addition, my work sort of evolved into supporting other marketing teams in a variety of ways, including training and mentoring. So that's sort of where this topic came about. So, you know, I've been really lucky to have clients and have taken it as a huge compliment that they've asked me to, you know, train some of their staff, because that, you know, they like how I do my work and they want their staff to do that. That's a really great thing that we can have as consultants. So Um, you know, in addition to that, professional development, mentoring, training, these are all really been things that have been a big part of who I am in my career, and I'm excited to be talking with you all about it. So I think a lot of times we use these three terms interchangeably, and I'm a huge fan of definitions. So I wanted to have some quick notes on what I found when I did a quick Google search and kind of from my own brain of differentiating them. So, there's a trainer, and as an employer, you can hire trainers and coaches externally, or you can use internal staff to help your team reach or achieve new skill sets and improve those skills once they have them, and then really getting into mentoring, which is more developing character. And I've gone through some really successful training sessions and coaching plans and official mentorship programs throughout my career. And they've all been great, and they have a time and a place. And I think there's something in our industry where if we could have more of this from an employer perspective, it can really help open the doors for people to know that these are good things and that we need to continually be learning and that sort of thing. But really the relationships that I've built on my own have been the ones that have really have put me over the edge, or have been really the most successful at satisfying me both professionally and personally. And I was really unfortunate when I look back to have these happen pretty organically in the different organizations that I was in, and having mentors that really not only encouraged me to follow my passion and take on new challenges, but really continue my journey as a lifelong learner. And so I've really embraced that in my career. And, I remember being at an event, it maybe could have been a MEEA event, I don't know, there was sparkling wine part of it, but I was sitting with some colleagues in the industry from all over the country or the region, and, trying to figure out my next step when someone talked about, I've gone through these training programs, I've had coaches, all the women sitting around me were my mentors, and they really talked about, the term champion. And it really hit home to me because you think about people either sponsoring you or championing you, and they can talk to other people about you, but do they really have that influence? And these amazing women sitting at the table, said you have to find someone who actually has influence that's going to talk about you, and not just someone, if you want to move forward and really find new opportunities in your career. And they don't have to be someone at your organization, they can be someone else. So this really inspired me to find those people, and the champions that I did find myself really helped keep me in this industry. I had a couple turning points in my career where as a marketer, I could have turned away, and just having the people in this industry embrace me and, always be willing to pick up the phone and talk when I have a question has been really great. So, I really wanted to share how mentoring and championing within the industry has been so beneficial for me. And I think if we can continue to garner that throughout and make sure that we continue to have that culture, it can just open a lot of doors for a lot of people. Again, a few more definitions. We talked about mentorship, but it's really typically, a mentor is really typically less concerned about the company's goals and more concerned about their mentees' personal ones. So, going back to that conversation I had around the table, it's great to have official mentors within your organization and part of that, but, they may still be part of the company and that sort of thing. So it's important for yourself and to encourage others to reach out and have mentors, outside of your own company, outside of the industry even. We think we have this very niche industry, and we do, and all of our problems are unique, but in reality, we're all human beings, and we can learn from lots of different folks. So, I think I've got a quote here that I read it's an older article, but it's important to have someone that knows what you are capable of and will talk about your capabilities in the circles you cannot access yet. And that really hit home. That was really what these women were telling me several years ago, is that, it isn't just enough to know people. You really need to have them know who you are and want to champion you. And it's just been a really great journey for me to think through that and how I can do that for others. And, I may not be in a huge senior leadership, but I've had the opportunity to know a lot of people in this industry and really make those connections. And that's a big piece of what I like to do, is bringing people together and their talents and, fitting those pieces together for different teams. So I think that's a really great thing. So I had this slide blank until this morning, and I've been recovering from COVID the last week. And so I wanted this to be this like really inspiring, like I kind of meandered and talked about my journey with mentors and champions and what can everybody else do. So I don't know that I really nailed it. But I think some of this, when we were talking and practicing before with Nate, there's a lot of things that he's going to talk about that I think cross over. So after he talks, maybe we can make this list a little more shiny and pretty, but just kind of put out there a few things that we can do in the industry, continue having employee sponsored coaching and training opportunities and mentorship programs, within your companies themselves or other organizations. Encourage staff to seek their own mentors and champions and really understand what that means. And then, I've talked a lot about staff and employees and ourselves and how we're growing in the industry, but really incorporating that into the work that you do with utilities, incorporating mentorship and training and that sort of thing into, for example, working with different trade ally groups. And when Nate and I were talking a couple weeks ago in preparation for this, I remembered, he did his presentation and there's a few things in there that I was like, oh yeah, I thought we could talk about that. So I'm going to end with, I'm excited to hear Nate talk about the different things that he's done with his programs and what Staples has been able to accomplish, because I think not only is mentorship and training super important for ourselves, but for the work we do and the, kind of the extension of our teams, for example, trade allies and otherwise. So I will leave you with that. Thank you for being here, and we'll take questions after Nate chats. So thanks so much.
Thank you, Kelly. And then while we switch over to Nate's presentation, and again, if you do have questions, pop them into the chat box or the question box, and we'll make sure to get through to all of those at the end. So Nate Bayer is managing partner and COO at Staples Energy. Since 2008, he has designed and implemented trade ally delivered residential and small business programs. He's spoken at national conferences about trade ally programs and is passionate about helping small businesses. So let's hear more about that now. Thanks, Nate.
Thanks, Jen, and thanks, Kelly. I really appreciated that information. A quick plug for MEEA. Staples Energy joined MEEA, I'd say about 10, 12 years ago, and it's been a great benefit to our organization from a learning perspective and also from a relationship development perspective. So if you haven't joined MEEA, or if you're currently a member and maybe you're not taking advantage of all that MEEA has to offer, please get in touch with the MEEA team and definitely take advantage of what MEEA can provide. So a little bit about Staples Energy, and then I'm going to get into a few examples of some of the training that we conducted. Staples Energy is kind of a different hybrid type firm. I like to call us a glorified contractor at sometimes. We have boots on the ground staff that will work with trade allies or contractors in the field to deliver small business programs, multifamily programs, or income qualified direct install programs. There's a term that I'm going to be using kind of throughout my presentation, which is the term technical. And to me, technical isn't like looking at a manual. It's more, I've done this, I've been there, I've installed these kind of things. Let me help you learn how to do this. And so it's really a hand-holding. And to use some of Kelly's term, it's more of a trainer or coach, someone who develops a new skill or reinforces a skill. The other thing to note too is that we do this hands-on installation, electrical installations, lighting installations, HVAC and plumbing, low-income weatherization, We're actually, our crew is out in Hanford, California right now, installing some level 3 EV charging stations. So it's an exciting evolution for our firm as we go into different areas of energy. Quick history, early in the 2000s, we started handing out CFLs door to door for Pacific Gas and Electric. I like to call that the birth of our direct install program, right? We were handing these out. PG&E came back a year later and said, it's great you handed these out to, 20,000 homes, but in reality, we want you to go back and screw in light bulbs. And that's a pretty easy task, but we've evolved and grown since then. We started weatherizing homes in 2008. You can see some of the stats there. And then we've also served as a small business, manufactured home, multifamily, and kind of like a standard business program administrator. And what that entails is growing a trade ally network. In some cases, we conduct direct installation of energy efficient measures, and also just managing that program delivery, which includes the marketing, the inspections, the trade ally or contractor training, the invoice processing, the rebate processing, all of those things. There's a few other areas of skill that we have. One of them that I'll point out is, this was kind of interesting. In California and other parts of the country, there's a lot of emergency response that's ongoing due to wildfires and natural disasters. So for Pacific Gas and Electric, we actually delivered batteries for medical equipment. And that might be a ventilator that someone's on. It might be an oxygen tank that needs a battery, and maybe some other sort of medical device. But we actually delivered those kind of on demand in order to help alleviate the medical issues that could arise due to power outages as a result of wildfires in this case. So I mentioned I'm going to talk about a few contractor success stories. To frame that, I just want to say that the market is going beyond lighting. Lighting, low-hanging fruit, all of those comments, but the market is definitely moving beyond lighting into other measures, and that's kind of the crux of this presentation. The other thing I would say is that we, as firms that run programs, we do a great job of encouraging trades to participate, maybe even spelling out the benefits of participation, but we don't always speak the language. I was actually just looking through a TRM for another state today, and there was a boiler measure that I was looking at thinking, that might be a good thing to add to the program, but I've never installed a boiler, and I don't know exactly what that means. But we do have people on staff that do know what that means and actually can speak the language of the contractor. If anyone can put the movie reference in the chat, maybe I'll send you some swag or something. I too have installed an ECM. I too have installed an evaporator fan control. I too have experienced dry mouthedness. So you can use that as you will. If you know the movie name, credit to you. So the first contractor success story was a Northern Illinois small business program. This program was heavily reliant on lighting, and we started in this program in 2016, and our task was to find contractors to install refrigeration measures. That's your ECMs, electronically commutated motors, anti-sweat heater controls, cold case lighting, items like that that you would see in your local convenience store, in the local beer cave. And in that role, we had to recruit contractors. Many of those contractors were lighting contractors. And then we moved on to really provide hands-on training and that ongoing, what I term technical support. So we would actually work with those contractors, meet them at their place of business, maybe do a quick half an hour training on what these measures are, what the benefits of the measure are for like an ECM, for example. Then the trade ally would have had a customer site lined up, and our trainer actually goes on site with those trade allies at the customer site to install the measures, show them what wires to connect, take a look at the evaporator fan controls, determine if those can be upgraded, take a look at the fins on the compressors to see if those have ice on them, really help them troubleshoot. And also, one of the most important things when you're introducing a new measure was to have almost on-call technical assistance. Our trainer really was there 24/7 almost, because it goes without saying and without fail that the first job that a contractor installs for a measure to which they're new, they will run into the craziest situation you've ever seen. It will inevitably be something where no one has ever seen that type of motor before that you're replacing. No one ever has had this issue or that issue. So it always helps to be able to alleviate those issues up front so they have a positive experience. We also provided sales assistance to help the contractor who was transitioning from lighting to refrigeration understand the benefits of ECMs and explain those benefits to their customer. And that really helped the program. The success here was the program significantly diversified beyond lighting in the subsequent years, some as a direct result of the refrigeration training. And our team still today trains and educates and helps contractors troubleshoot if they need to, and is training new contractors all the time. Just so you know, I use the term contractor and trade ally interchangeably. So that tends to just be a individual or a company that works specifically with the utility program, in addition to working with the general public. So there's another refrigeration training that we conducted in Southern Illinois. And one of the interesting things is we have a master electrician on staff who joined us from a Wisconsin trade ally who we used to work with. And he was a naysayer when it came to refrigeration. He knew lighting, he knew panel upgrades, he knew things like that. But really, once he saw the benefits and the simplicity of installing ECMs and controls, he thought, there is a definite benefit here. The staff that works directly for our master electrician has installed thousands of ECMs, anti-sweats, and controls. And that's really kind of walking the walk, not just talking the talk. So Steve is the master electrician's name. We received a contract to do some hands-on training in Southern Illinois. Much like Northern Illinois, we trained on ECMs, controls, anti-sweat, heater controls. And that again was hands-on training. We had a demo unit, which had 2 different fan motors on it. And you could show the difference between a shaded pole motor and an ECM. And we trained 27 contractors who were actually we were on site with them, and they were turning the wrenches. These were individual trainings, and 11 of those contractors were diverse. So we didn't train a huge group of contractors. These were one-on-one. They might have had 2 or 3 people, 2 or 3 installers present, and we were able to train them up on how this program functions. One of the recommendations that I noted in the previous slide was, in this instance, we didn't have an in-the-market, technically adept person as that go-to resource. So some of the follow-up had to be done via phone, on-site visits were more difficult, and photos don't always convey the right information that's needed to help a trade ally or contractor address a technical challenge they ran into. I will quickly move through this last slide, as I think I'm getting close to time. This is a little technology success story that we had related to contractors. This is a little bit of an old story, but I think some messages still apply today. The first, on the left-hand side, you'll see we received some feedback actually from a contractor that said you'll not be able to get small business contractors to use software. Well, I've been called bullheaded, so we proceeded and conducted a lot of individual training, shot videos about training and how to use Snapshot, our Energy Snapshot software, to deliver a program. We rolled out Energy Snapshot in Wisconsin and Illinois. We had great teammates in the field who really helped us troubleshoot and make sure that the software was doing what it needed to do on the contractor level, putting on that contractor hat and really thinking their way. And as a result, contractors really want to use this software. They see the benefits. It's designed from a contractor standpoint, which is obviously very important to consider. And a little kind of proud moment here, a little brag moment. One of the quotes we received from a contractor was, "Using Snapshot, I can enter application information and get proposals in front of customers much, much faster." So that's a really positive experience for that contractor and for us. This is a software I was mentioning. We call it Energy Snapshot. But the message here is, don't be afraid of using software with contractors in the field. But as you're developing software, think of it from a contractor standpoint. You may need 2 pieces of software in order to report on the utility level, but definitely think of software from a contractor standpoint and how to ease their transition into the software. One more shameless plug about Staples Energy. This is kind of a slide about our personality. We're collaborative, we're adaptable and flexible. From some of the information I told you, we're technically knowledgeable. We know how to reach small business customers, low and moderate income customers. We know how to reach out to and manage trade ally networks. And like I said, we can offer that technical knowledge and training. I believe we have a couple minutes here for questions. I will wrap up. This is my contact information. It will be on the slot on the presentation once it's sent back out to the attendees. But if you have questions at this point, I will pause my presentation and we can answer those questions. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Nate. Thanks, Kelly. And Kelly, if you want to come back on camera, we'll get into some questions. So thanks to those of you who sent in questions. Please feel free to send some more in. Kelly, first question is for you. What guidance do you have for staff to seek out mentors? And also any recommendations now that so many people are remote or not at the office or attending events?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. You know, from the remote perspective, you know, today's webinar is a great example, or any webinar that you're on that has a specific topic that you're interested in. You know, take a look at the attendee list, look people up on LinkedIn, figure out who they are. You've already got an in with them because you're attending something and have a similar interest. So I think that's a really great way. I also put some other ideas in the Q&A, and really being open and chatting. I think sometimes it's, especially for those introverts like myself, it can be easier to network virtually and reach out to people and have those video chats and make the time for them as opposed to trying to meet for coffee. So I love being in person too, and hopefully we can do more of that. But yeah.
Awesome. Thank you. Next question for Nate. How do you go about finding trade allies to work with?
Yeah, I think one of the best ways is when you have a market presence with what we call them energy advisors. They're basically liaisons in the field. They either talk to existing customers and identify trade allies that they already may be working with. Let's say it's a lighting contractor or an HVAC contractor. That's a great way to reach out and find those contractors. And then, you know, web searches, as crazy as that sounds, it's simple, it's basic, but it is a great way to find them. And in some programs, you already have trade allies that exist, and you might have 1,000 trade allies. In those programs, I'm still shocked that as you turn over more stones, there's new companies that start up, there's companies that change hands, and there's really great opportunities to engage these individuals into the programs. So I think really it's existing relationships, and then you know, web searches, or even as you're going through your target area, you might drive through downtown and see there's an HVAC company. Just stop in and let them know that you're there representing a utility program.
Sounds great. Thanks. Okay, Kelly, if someone has mentorship ideas, how do they bring them to upper management? Do you have any advice for that?
Yeah, I think can answer in two different ways. So I think if you're a leader or even just anyone at a company and you can see across the board that there's a need for this, I think it's a really good time to bring that up with upper management. For me, it's always, you know, pointing to someone else who has done it successfully. If you can find case studies, you know, Forbes and Harvard Business have great articles about it, you know, really presenting the facts that it's valuable. You know, if you're someone who really just wants a mentor of their own and are hoping that upper management will provide that platform, I think you can, you know, do a similar tactic, but also, you know, go out and just ask someone at your company or someone else in the industry to have coffee and work through that yourself. Sometimes those are the most fruitful mentorship opportunities.
Great, thank you. Back to you, Nate. With the market moving away from lighting, what measures do you anticipate will be at the forefront of EE?
We talk about this a lot. We've been installing light bulbs since 2002, right? So that's a long time to rely on lighting for savings. I think there's a few different things. One, you know, we put in a bunch of LEDs, we being the collective group of energy efficiency professionals in various programs. And I think there's opportunity to add controls, whether they're daylighting controls, vacancy sensors, maybe it's smarter energy management systems. But the area that I really see a ton of opportunity, especially in the Midwest, is with HVAC upgrades, both on the commercial and residential side, but I'm going to talk specifically on commercial. I think there's a lot of opportunity there. I do think we might have to do a bit of a reconfiguration in how we look at incentives. The incentives tend to cover a smaller portion of those HVAC upgrades. So maybe we have to flip things a little bit and realize that it might harm cost effectiveness, but the long-term savings with a life cycle of 20 to 25 years are going to be tremendous. So I really see HVAC and HVAC controls as really that next arena that we need to become at least teenagers, if not young adults in.
That makes sense. Okie doke. Let's go back to Kelly. This is from an audience member. So as a woman in the EE industry, is there any advice that you would give to other young women trying to grow in the industry and make more connections?
Give me a call. That is an answer that could be very, very long. In Wisconsin, Jacqueline Friedel from VEIC has a Women in Energy Efficiency networking group that we haven't had a lot of success meeting in person recently, but has been really amazing in the past. And I think, building those relationships at I know I'm going back to MEEA, but I'll also say AESP and other organizations regionally and nationally. And, I've just found that people are traditionally really open to that and making those connections and relationships. And it's been a really amazing space to grow up in this industry. So we talk about that for a really long time. I know there's a Women in Energy group out of Chicago as well, and I'm sure there are in other states. So happy to help connect you with any of those if you want.
Awesome. Okay, I think one more for Nate and then one for both of you. So Nate, with the Great Resignation and growing opportunities in EE and clean energy, how do you find and encourage new people to join our industry?
Yeah, I think that's obviously a very solid question. The part of the question answers itself in the growing opportunities aspect of things. I mean, looking through the Inflation Reduction Act and the potential for state energy offices and community action partnerships to drive people into this industry, I think it helps us sell to potential employees, prospective employees on that this is a long-term deal. It's not just a short-term deal. So I think there's that sales benefit. And as far as identifying individuals, we always talk about technical colleges, but I think we probably need to go more to that high school level. Some of the trade programs I think are good. The high school that my kids go to, they have some great woodworking, metalworking classes, small engine repair, things like that. People that at least have an affinity toward that type of work. I think we can start working at a younger age. Internships are obviously great. Apprenticeships are great. The other thing I would say is both ComEd and Ameren in Illinois have great incubator programs where they're bringing up specifically diverse contractors, but many different types of contractors, and really engaging them in this field. I just heard from one of my energy advisors yesterday who had a very positive experience with one of these contractors. The contractor needed a lot of assistance because there's acronyms, like just all the various acronyms that they don't understand. There's rules and regulations that we all know, but they may not be as clear. So really having that one-on-one relationship will eliminate the barrier of participation and get more people actively involved in this industry.
Great. Okay, last question for both of you. With all of the changes occurring in our industry, how do you foresee the current or the recent influx of federal funding impacting your businesses?
So I'll go first, Kelly, if you're all right. For us, things like the, $150 for an energy audit and all of those things, and the different incentives for doors and windows and insulation, that fits right in with some of the work that we do. I think the greatest potential, though, we could do a lot of the work, right, as a company, but the biggest potential is actually finding all those 100, 150, 200 other contractors to actually use those dollars effectively in many different parts of the market. So I think that's where the greatest potential is. Kind of back to that last question about finding more people to do the work. That's what we need, not 20 contractors that can do 80% of the work. We need 200 contractors that can do 100% of the work in any given market. So contractor growth, I think, is the biggest potential for our company, although I'll never pass up an opportunity to put all of our other guys to work as well.
Yeah, and I think really similarly for me, the idea that we can bring, and I love, Nate, that you mentioned going to the high schools, because I think regardless of whether you're talking technical or, any spectrum of what we're doing, let's grow the industry. If we're going to have these funds, we have to use them. We have to use them wisely so that future politicians will continue to do that, and you know, companies will grow. And you know, we have amazing set of skills and employees now in this industry, but we're still pretty small and niche. So I think the opportunity is to really get what we do as a forefront on people's minds when they're thinking of, I'm in high school, I'm going to go to college, what am I going to do? Or I'm in high school, I want to learn a trade, maybe I'll do solar or energy efficiency. And I think it's a real opportunity to have it be more of a household name. And I think everyone in this industry has had that question from mom or Aunt Sally, you know, what do you really do? And not have anyone really understand. You know, maybe in 5-10 years, people will have a better understanding of that, and we'll have, you know, even larger market share of green jobs and that sort of thing. So that's kind of what excites me. It's also scary. We could fall flat if we don't come and rise to the occasion of, you know, getting skilled workers to do what we need to do and spend those dollars wisely. So it's a real challenge.
Awesome. Perfect. Well, thank you to the audience for those great questions. Thanks, Kelly and Nate, for your time, both former MEEA board members, stellar MEEA members, and all around great people. So happy to highlight you both today. Thanks everyone for joining us, and we'll follow up with their contact info so you can reach out further with any other questions. And with that, have a wonderful rest of your day.
Thank you.
Bye.